Good morning and welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways, Coyote in the Highlands, your enlightenment news for the day. So, I did a housekeeping update, channel housekeeping update a couple days ago, a week ago, and the only comment I got was, too many videos, too long, too many subjects all at once, and that's kind of an interesting thing. Of course, I have multiple things going on, so there's homesteading and prepping and spiritual stuff and all of the enlightenment stuff, which isn't necessarily spiritual, but it connects with spiritual, and longevity stuff and exercise stuff and diet stuff. And I do have a channel broken out for the project, the diet and fitness project, so that's good. I can either make multiple channels or ignore the one comment or do something completely different. So, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I do actually like giving you the update, the how my day is going before I get into the topic of the video. Maybe I should bring that down a notch and make it at least no longer than 45 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever. So, I think one of the things that I really like, I don't always like his topics, but Styx Hexenhammer has a way of doing a couple of very short 10-minute videos a day that actually really works and is really easy to listen to. And, when he's done, he's done. Goodbye. And that is really cool. I feel like I don't end well, finish the process well. I don't like the idea of going through and doing 2 hours of this and that and then editing it down to 15 minutes of video. And maybe I'll do some longer form content and split that off or tag that differently. So that's a thing I may consider. Or maybe not. Right now I want to talk about longevity. We're going to talk about this just a little bit because it's a new topic on the channel. Something I haven't actually done. A couple of years ago on the channel I was doing the Stumbling Towards Utopia series, talking about utopian ideas and some technologies and thoughts about that. And this is related because you can't really do longevity without figuring out some social issues if you have a large amount of population pressure. If you don't have a large amount of population pressure, then it all goes away. So we're not talking about actual personal techniques of longevity right now. We're just going to talk about some of the concepts that surround it, like overpopulation. So overpopulation is a generally considered a problem. Different levels, different people, different times, different places, like the doomer optimists acknowledge or don't want to talk about the overpopulation problem that they perceive. There's that. A lot of people are into population control agendas. A lot of doomers are into population control agendas, either for or against. And our population is pretty high. We may hit 10 billion before I'm 60. Woo! I'm 51. We may hit 11 billion. That's like a lot of people. Of course, if you massed all those people together and you just made them into a glommed sphere, it would, you could just coat Central Park in New York City a couple feet deep with people, and that's it. That's all there is. It's not actually all that much mass. However, agriculture means that we occupy a lot of planet space, and that's a different topic for a different day. I think that population control is one of the big deals with longevity research. It's really hard to talk about longevity because people really don't put it out there. It's not one of the things that's allowed to be talked about by the media, by the deep state, by the establishment state, by the oligarchy, whoever it is. It seems like longevity is not one of the things that we talk about. And you'd think that health and longevity would be one of the crucial driving forces. Of course, longevity requires health, okay? Unless your longevity is some sort of maintenance schedule, allopathic, interventionist thing, which is what we seem to be doing. Replace your shoulder. I have a relative who's in his 70s, and I swear, no more no more separated than every 18 months. It's like having fucking babies. There's a surgery to replace a joint, to replace a nerve, to fix an eye, to like, whoa! And none of it is based on, hey, move well, eat well, do the right things. None of that actually is there. What I'm getting at, though, is profit motive. I feel that the profit motive is a huge thing. Profit motive and control. Power and control. Profit doesn't do anything for you unless there's a reason, like power and control. It has to give you something. Just looking at a stack of cash doesn't mean anything. That cash has to enable you to have power, control, security, elitism. There's all these things that go with it. That's what's driving it. So we call it profit motive, but that's really separating it from power motive. I think we should talk about power motive rather than profit motive. Power over others. And you lose that if people are healthy and live long without interventionism. So that's one of the big drivers of not having longevity research out in the public, or techniques or basic stuff. Like we could talk to each other about this. We could see, who is living long, who's Master Cleanse, the guy who did Master Cleanse. Like, how long did he live? What did he look like? Have you seen pictures of him? Dude was pretty buff. Other people, the vegans, the carnivores, all the stuff. You look at Sean Baker right now. He's one of the big names in carnivore, and if you look at him, his face looks healthier than it did a couple of years ago. Like, something's going on there. He's got tons of muscle. That's just, that's how he is. That's how he keeps his thing going. He doesn't seem to do huge endurance workouts. He seems to do more of a sprint model, and that's actually part of the longevity technology that we need to look at. But I think this stuff is all very scary to the powers that be. They would like to have it for themselves, but they can't conceive of it in the model that would probably actually work, which is non-interventionist, stress control, breath work, spiritual stuff, slowing down, opening up your days to experience, all of that stuff. And then the food, the diet, the quality of your environment, all of that, that's just, it's so counter to everything they do and their lifestyle, including, and I'm not talking about them as in they, just the oligarchy, just the powers, but everybody, all the way down society. That's the training, So you have to escape the trap to escape the trap. What does longevity research mean? Longevity research means, possibly the escalator to immortality, which is if you're alive now and you can make it another 20 years, potentially, if we get things together, there's a 50-50 chance that there will be enough life extension technology that you will make it another several years to the next step of life extension technology, and you can kind of ride the escalator or the elevator all the way up to the top. Maybe, maybe not. I would personally be very happy with living with the body of a healthy 30 to 60-year-old, that range, until I'm 90. And then have my slow down and my fade and sit in my chair and drink my tea and watch the sunsets for the next 25 years and slow down. Life has phases. I think 120, 130 is very achievable. I think that's achievable with no new technology at all, just an understanding of systems. We have infectious agents in our gut, so we have the microbiome is a big deal. I've been aware of this, the idea, since at least the mid-90s. It's the first book I read about someone curing IBS with fecal matter transplants, like changing their gut biome by having poop inserted in their poop hole. Weird, but there you go. It's also ingested. You can also get microbiome transplants ingested orally, which is weirder to think about at first. But microbiome is the thing. It's a buzzword right now. No one wants to talk about it because it's overused. It's kind of like talking about particle physics proves spirituality. It's like bullshit, right? It's not. So the microbiome has a huge effect. You can have agents in your microbiome that actually force you into a carb addiction, sugar addiction, change your personality, change your stress levels. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. So, realize that your body has an ecology that is more complex than most people actually think the planetary ecology is. That's super complex. You kind of have to go with an intuition and a flow with that because you're never going to be able to detail every freaking mechanism and interaction among thousands of species of critter that make up the you. You're not just Homo sapiens sapiens. You are all the other stuff. You have as many neurons in your gut as you do in your skull, and that's a brain, right? That's a big deal. The seat of consciousness might be down here instead of up here. It's just that your eyes are up here. So think that one through. Your sense of perception might be driving what you think, might be driving what science thinks is going on. There's a lot of research that looks into this part of the brain and this part of the brain and this part of the, but they never track what's going on down here at the same time as what's going up there. And that's really important. Longevity is what we're talking about, though. So I think that the main barriers to longevity research, to actually getting anywhere with this, are going to involve power, fears of overpopulation. What's really funny about the overpopulation thing, to get back to that, is that goes down immediately when you have cheap energy, good education, reasonable quality of life, decent standards of living, and especially no rush, no hurry. What you would expect to see with real longevity stuff and a decent standard of living, so cheap, abundant energy, nuclear power plants, whatever it is, wind, distributed wind actually works. What you'd expect to see is a much lower birth rate. And this is one of those things that's really interesting because it gets into mythology about elves and stuff, right? Mythology is the long-lived Eternals have a hard time reproducing, and that's actually looks like that's an intuitive, might even be a non-time-bound intuitive grasp of what the potentials are. So if you want population control, what you really want is immortality, because that'll do it for you. Or life extension, extreme life extension. If people can expect to live healthy into 3 digits, if you can expect to go have a normal life, go ride your quad, go drive your truck, go for a hike, do the normal stuff, until you're 100, that's a lot. That's a long time, that's a really big deal. Now, that eliminates profits. Everything that we know about this eliminates all the profits for big industrial food manufacturing, processing, pharmaceutical companies, most pharmaceutical companies, large parts of the healthcare industry. Remember, the healthcare industry in the United States is a $2.5 trillion a year industry. It is the largest economic force category in America. And this actually goes for a lot of the West. The costs are not significantly less just because you have a nationalized healthcare system. They're just calculated differently. Healthcare is a huge, huge deal, and America is the primary cash cow for the corporate profits, and that includes German companies and French companies and British companies and Canadian companies. It's not, we're driving it, which is why we have such shitty health insurance reform laws, because they're not about you, they're about them. Every time you look at something like Obamacare, remember, it's not about you, it's about them. It's about the corporate profits. You can't get rid of the corporate profits and have those people feel very good. So maybe what you need to do is give them the money, give them $50 a month from each person in the United States to have a healthy lifestyle. And stop selling the drugs. Just give them the fucking money. We'd be better off. We would. So these are the barriers to longevity, because it looks like the longevity technology is going to be based on certain exercise protocols, certain dietary protocols, certain internal and external environmental protocols, and I don't mean climate change. And a major shift in how we live. And that's not profitable. So that's longevity part 1. Hopefully I'll get to the part many over time. All right, stay sideways.